Land Rovers driven by the British royal family. The late Queen Elizabeth II had a long relationship with Land Rovers, with her 70-year reign spanning nearly the entire company's history. Since King George VI was given the 100th 80-inch Series 1 in 1948, the royal family and Land Rover have had a long and fruitful partnership, with the monarch and family kept in Rovers. The Queen owned many Land Rovers throughout her life, but there are a few with which she is most closely associated. So for today's video, let's take a look at a bunch of different Land Rover models throughout the years that the Queen and the royal family drove. In addition to that, we'll also mention some facts that will make you believe that the royal family really loved their Rovers. Without further ado, let's jump straight into today's video, shall we? Before her death at the age of 96, the Queen was Britain's longest reigning monarch and the first to reach 7 decades on the throne. She learned to drive in the same way that many other women did during World War II. She joined the British Army's female division, the Auxiliary Territorial Service. She was also taught how to service vehicles there, and she undoubtedly developed a taste for driving that she carried with her for as long as she lived. A story that probably best exemplifies her driving enthusiasm, as well as her sometimes impish humour, has her behind the wheel of a Land Rover Defender, the vehicle with which she would become most associated, at least in private, away from the formality of the Bentleys and Rolls-Royces used for state events. So her first major association was with her Royal Review vehicles for her Commonwealth tour in 1953 to 54, at the start of her 70-year reign, and when the Land Rover was only 5 years old. On the Royal Tour, 8 vehicles were built and distributed to various parts of the world. With Land Rover now firmly established in the market, the royal family was kept in new models, sometimes through generous finance deals or as a kind of gift from the company to help boost its public image. Even in the Queen's final moments, incoming royal family members were driven from Aberdeen Airport to Balmoral Castle in a fleet of Range Rovers, with a new Defender 110 at the back carrying the luggage. This year's St Patrick's Day appearance by Prince William and Princess Catherine was the first major public appearance of a new 5th generation Range Rover. The Queen, and now King Charles III, usually rides in a custom-built Bentley limousine, but everyone else rides in a Land Rover. As a result, many Land Rovers appear in photos with the royals, but there are a few that are particularly associated with them, particularly the Queen. Her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, was a Land Rover fan who even had a custom Defender 110 built for his funeral last year. One of the most iconic photos of the couple was taken at the Windsor Horse Trials in 1972 with their children and Series 3 109 JYV 1D. The vehicle is still in use, transporting William and Catherine to a film in Scotland in 2021 and taking part in the Queen's 70th Jubilee Parade in June. Did you guys know that Queen Elizabeth II completed many engagements in Land Rovers? The late monarch Queen Elizabeth II will be remembered for her selfless dedication to public service. Just 2 days before her death at Balmoral, she appointed the 15th Prime Minister of her reign, Liz Truss. She travelled extensively and had engagements all over the world. Land Rovers were prominent in many of these. In 1953, the Queen embarked on her first 6-month tour of the Commonwealth. Land Rover provided several specially commissioned Land Rovers known as the State Review for use during the trip. The car had an open-top design, allowing those gathered to get a better view of the Queen and Duke. In 2015, an updated version was revealed in the form of the long-wheelbase, diesel hybrid L405 Range Rover. Land Rover's Special Vehicle Operations designed and built the vehicle. Moving on, the Queen owned a number of Range Rover classics in the 1970s and 1980s, and while none of them are specifically associated with her, several appeared in photographs. She drove a beige classic on safari during a tour to Namibia. The Queen's most famous Solihull-built ride in the 1990s and 2000s was her custom-built Defender 110, plated A444RYV. Hundreds of photographs show her driving it around her estates. The vehicle was customised for her, with handles on the pillars to make it easier for Her Majesty to enter. It's also rumoured that this Defender was built with a higher level of sealing and waterproofing than other Defenders. Anyways, another thing that a lot of people might not know is that the Queen used a personal Defender to get around Balmoral. Balmoral Castle, originally built for Queen Victoria by her husband Prince Albert, was a favourite residence of Queen Elizabeth II. The vast estate, located in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, was used for her summer escapes. The Queen was frequently seen in her trusty Defender, which she used to navigate the 50,000 acres. Faced with the harsh terrain and weather found in this corner of Scotland, the car's renowned off-road ability would have undoubtedly been put to the test. Moving on, in her final years, the Queen generally avoided Defenders in favour of the comfort of a Range Rover. Despite the constant flow of new Land Rover products into the royal palaces, she was drawn to one in particular, a late 2000s third-generation Range Rover L322 with her iconic Labrador Retriever with pheasant in mouth hood ornament bolted to the leading edge of the bonnet. She was seen driving an Epsom green around the grounds of Sandringham House in England in 2022. In this Rangie, she also created possibly her most iconic Land Rover image for a certain generation, the Queen Thug Life photo that spawned 1,000 memes, a telephoto image of the short monarch in a headscarf piloting the big SUV, peering over the steering wheel. So, another interesting thing is that the Queen had issued the Land Rover brand a royal warrant. The Queen and other members of the royal family can issue royal warrants. A royal warrant is a mark of recognition given to companies that regularly supply the Queen. It carries a lot of prestige. Those chosen may use the royal arms in relation to their business on websites, stores, and branding. Land Rover received their royal warrants from the Queen in 1951, having grown up around their products. She received her first Land Rover shortly before ascending to the throne in 1952. The company holds 3 warrants, having been appointed by both the Duke of Edinburgh and Prince Charles, now known as King Charles III. With the Queen's death, only one of Land Rover's original 4 royal warrants is still somewhat valid. King Charles III's issued when he was Prince of Wales. They held royal warrants for the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh, the Prince of Wales, and the Queen Mother until 2002, making them one of only 8 British companies to do so. However, as the royal warrant system is overhauled for the new monarchy, it appears extremely likely that they will once again be one of the few companies to hold all of the new available warrants, as time-honoured favourite vehicles of King Charles III, Queen Camilla, and Prince William as the heir to the throne. With the new King's love of the environment and alternatively fuelled vehicles, expect to see the latest hybrid and electric models make up an increasing portion of His Majesty's fleet. On a closing note, let's be honest, we all can see that the Land Rovers complemented her lifestyle. Land Rover's model lineup was an ideal fit for her, as a huge fan of outdoor activities. In her spare time, the Queen enjoyed nothing more than venturing out into the countryside and partaking in traditional pastimes. A dependable off-road vehicle was required for everything from stalking deer to shooting game and rural picnics. Land Rovers allowed us to get to the best hunting spots while carrying the dogs, necessary equipment, and of course, the spoils of the hunt. Horses were another huge passion of hers, and she could frequently be seen driving around a horse trial event in a Land Rover. She is estimated to have owned 30 vehicles, demonstrating how much of a fan the Queen was of the brand. Her favourite models were the Defender and Range Rover, with many examples of each owned and used over the years. The Duke was a big fan of the Freelander, and he had several of them scattered around the royal estates. He was involved in a car accident in one of his Freelanders near the Sandringham estate in 2019. With that being said, this is it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time with another interesting Land Rover video.